Welcome to Adventurewise Media. I'm Betsy Hill of Betsy's World and a Fat Life Over 40.
And I'm Bob Bell with the Traveling Fool.
We are starting a new endeavor called Adventurewise Media. Now, both Bob and I have a love for the South, for travel, for spirits, for wine, and for beer. And this show will be all about history through the South and beyond, spirits, wine, beer, and more. So, Bob, tell me a little bit about where you've been lately.
Well, because of the coronavirus, I've been home lately. But prior to that, I did a little bit of traveling earlier in the year. I went to Savannah. In the latter part of last year, I had the opportunity to go to Fayetteville, North Carolina. And earlier that year, I was in Montana for a little while. So it was fun. I had a good time. Now I'm ready to get back on the road and do some more traveling.
Speaking of traveling, we have a road trip coming up.
That's true. And it's a good one because I know you've been to one or two of these places before, but I have not. And I'm really looking forward to it.
So we'll be heading from Jacksonville, which is where you're flying into, to St. Simons Island, Georgia. And St. Simons is one of my very favorite places in the South. I am so anxious to introduce you to the King and Prince Resort right on the beach. Cap Findig, who runs Lighthouse Tours, is a huge wealth of history of St. Simons. And from there, we're going to go up to Villa Rica, Georgia. And Villa Rica is known for something. What's Villa Rica known for, Bob?
Well, believe it or not, that's where they discovered gold in Georgia. You know, everybody thinks it was discovered out west, but it wasn't.
And I think we're going to be doing another kind of hunting, from what I've been told. We're going to be doing some honey hunting, honey harvesting.
Yeah, now, the gold that they discovered, of course, that place has been turned into a museum, and you would expect to go and learn all about the gold in the museum. But they also have honeybees there, and they harvest honey from this place. So I'm very interested in figuring out how they do all this and learning from them.
I am too. I think that's going to be really neat. And so in Villa Rica, after we get through all the history and all the food and all the honey hunting, we'll be heading down to Jacksonville Beach. And Jacksonville Beach is a burgeoning food scene, and their craft brewery scene is amazing. So we're going to love that. And I do believe that we'll be staying at the Casa Marina Hotel right on the beach. And the Casa Marina goes back to 1926. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah, in fact, both these hotels that you've got lined up for us are historic hotels. And I always enjoy historic hotels because you can stay at one of the standard chain hotels, and yes, they're nice and very nice, but there's something about a historic hotel because there's a history behind it and a story to tell. And I think, like you, anywhere, it's all about what you can tell. It's not about the selfie you take of the famous fountain. It's the stories you tell later on and the memories that you have of these places. And both of these hotels have quite a history from what I've told.
Yes, they do. And you are absolutely correct. So no matter where Jim and I end up, whether we're in the Bahamas or whether we're in, St. Simons Island, Georgia, we want to know, just like you do, I want to know the story. I want to know the people behind the place, the destination. I want to know what makes that place special. I want to know their history, because just like people, and I'm going to reveal a little bit about my Southern heritage. Every Southern family has stuff that's kind of hidden away in the closet, as it were. The same thing is true with these old hotels and destinations. they all have stories to tell that you have to uncover them. You have to pull them out from the closet and share them because they're stories that have been forgotten in the past.
That's true. I've learned that no matter where you travel, anywhere in the world, there's always a story to tell. And if you dig around a little bit, you can find it. And some of them are amazing, and it makes you walk away going, I never knew. I've been to that place 5 times. I never knew that.
So I suspect that you and I have talked, and I know that you spent a long time, and one of your favorite places is the Philippines. And Jim grew up in Guam. So a lot of people know the history that happened in World War II in the Pacific, but the really neat thing is to go to places like the Philippines, to go to places like Guam, and to uncover those stories. Like there's a cave that Jim took me to when we were in Guam 5 or 6 years ago that they had armaments, bombs, and stuff that hadn't exploded. So they had a gate over this cave, but Jim knew a back way in, and we went in and kind of snuck through the cave and stuff, and that was fun because it was a story of the invasion of Guam, and we were able to connect the dots. And I think that when you're able to do that, you bring history to life.
That's true. I mean, I'll give you 3 places in the Philippines that a lot of people didn't know about. One is right in downtown Manila. Well, just in one it's called Fort Santiago, Fort Bonifacio. But they have the largest United States military cemetery outside of the U.S.
Wow.
Bigger than any in Europe. And I wrote an article about it. It's when you go to military cemeteries, they're kind of surreal anyway. But I had a lot of people say, I've been in Manila 5 times. I never even knew that thing existed. And it's just sitting on a hill in Bonifacio. In the island of Palawan. Everybody goes to Palawan because it's beautiful. It's got fantastic beaches. I mean, great diving. But when you go down there, there is a museum that was founded and run by the son of a guerrilla fighter who was very famous in the Philippines during World War II.
Oh, wow.
Story of that era where a very famous event took place with some prisoners of war where they were massacred by the Japanese, which set off a whole chain of events.
Wow. So
I'm going to tell you one more though, real quick. I went to a prison in Palawan also that has no walls, they say. It does have walls in the medium and maximum security, but other than that, the prisoners walk around on the grounds and there's really no place to escape to. It's been there for years and years. So, I mean,
wow.
And I talked to the prisoners and interviewed some prisoners in maximum security. I mean, it just
wow.
I had the opportunity to do that a lot, and they played a part in the history of the prisoner of war massacre.
Oh, wow. And that's stuff that you can't. I mean, most normal people wouldn't know to do that kind of stuff. And you brought up World War II, so I'm just gonna. And I think I tell you this every time we talk, but you really do need to come to Fort Pierce, Florida, and also to DeLand. Now, Fort Pierce is unusual because many people think, oh yeah, we've got great fishing and we've got great lobstering, and it's this neat little fishing town. Well, there's much more to it because Fort Pierce is where the Navy SEALs started. It's where the underwater demolition teams were trained and during World War II. And so when you think about the military guys, the SEALs that are doing missions today, their history goes back to Fort Pierce. And there's a museum, the National Navy SEAL Museum is here. And then if you go up to DeLand is where the DeLand Naval Aviation Station was. And during World War II, they had think it's PI-wise or P-wise. Anyway, the bombing planes, and there's a local guy that trained there, and he was a pilot. But what makes it really special is they have a collection of World War II planes with the original nose art, and those are very, very rare. So the stories behind this little teeny tiny museum, and it's cram packed with stuff, is just really fun.
Yeah, I've been a lot. Of course, I'm retired military, and I've always enjoyed military history, whether it's World War I museum in Kansas City or military museums around the U.S. and the world. If you take time more than just walking through and looking at the stuff and talk to some of the people there,
Yep.
You'll find a lot of those people that are acting as volunteers were part of the history that was made.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I had an opportunity to Nepal twice. And in one city in Nepal, they had the Gurkha Museum. And people have heard about the Gurkhas. I mean, they're world famous. They famous fought for the British and the Indian armies. I mean, they're just history for a couple hundred years. Well, at the Gurkha, interesting, but the two guys that were there as volunteers were former Gurkha sergeant majors in the Gurkha army.
Oh, wow.
I got to talk to those guys, and they were part of history. And probably as much time talking to them as I did walking through the museum.
But see, that's what we want to do. And that's what we want to do from Adventurewise, is to bring those stories to life for people so that you guys can experience the same thing we are. And Bob's and my goal is when we travel, is we will be bringing you live footage, live shows from on the ground. And we'll be talking to the hotel managers. We'll be talking to the local historians like Kat Finching on St. Simon's. We'll be talking to bartenders. We'll be talking to the brewers. We'll be talking to the winemakers. Those are the people we want you to hear the stories, right, Bob?
Yeah, because it place has a story.
Yeah, it does.
You know, whether it's a hotel and the history behind the hotel, or the history behind why they started the distillery, what brought them to that place, you know, and what their background is and why they started it.
I get real fascinated with the background of why people start distilleries, and one of our favorite distilleries is here in Florida at St. Augustine Distillery, and Phil McDaniel wanted to revitalize. He had a vision to revitalize Lincolnville in St. Augustine. It's a neighborhood predominantly, back in the day, it was predominantly Black neighborhood, but it's also where Martin Luther King stood on the steps of several homes and he spoke. A lot of civil rights leaders were from that area, or they visited that area. Well, anyway, long story short, Phil saw a neighborhood that was starting to deteriorate, and he wanted to revitalize it. So he bought the old ice plant and turned it into a distillery. When you tour that distillery, what's really cool is there's a mark on the wall, and it goes throughout the entire ice plant, and that's where the ice would be piled up in big blocks back in the day. And so it's just, they haven't changed it. They've created modern right inside of this historic building, and it's just way cool. I mean, it's just, if you don't ask, you'll never know that kind of history. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's one thing I've learned. You know, when people places, a lot of them pick a place maybe because they saw photos about it or maybe read an article about it, and they have always wanted to go there and see this. But what really gets people interested is when they learn some tidbits about the background of that place.
Yeah.
And why they should go there and why they should stay at this particular hotel or why they should visit this particular place. And that's what really more and more people are, whether you call it expo travel or something else, people are looking to get more immersed in where they're going so that they can feel somewhat connected and come back with a good story.
Absolutely. And it's all about, I really believe that in today's world, we have, you have a choice. You can spend money on stuff, or you can have memories and experiences. And I really believe that that's what people want, are memories and experiences. So that's what Adventurewise Media is going to be bringing.
That's true. And you can expect us probably initially every couple of weeks. And after that, maybe every week or so.
And we've got some people lined up that have expressed interest, Bob, correct? You're talking to Savannah. We've talked to Visit Fayetteville. We've talked with Lee Court Publicity. Who else have we? Georgia Turner with West Volusia. So there's certainly, we're going to have some real great destinations coming.
Yeah, we're going to be bringing on guests that can, besides us just telling you about it, we'll let the experts tell you a bit more about it and why.
Exactly.
Whether you have a story to tell, whether it's a brand, whether it's a destination, get in touch with us. We'd be more than happy to talk with you and get you on the show.
And I think that we're trying to branch out a bit, aren't we, Bob? Going somewhere that's a bit cold.
Well, someplace it's a lot of snow in the winter, so we're in some initial talks with them, and we might be taking a road trip in November or January timeframe, something like that, and talking to you from a little bit colder destination, which I have been in a lot, although I would rather be sitting at a beach with a drink in January. I don't mind cold weather.
Well, you know me, it's hard to get me out of the tropics. So anyway, and Bob's in Houston, and he's got 2 storms that are heading his way, but maybe heading to New Orleans instead.
Yeah, it seems to change every hour or two, so I don't know. I may be high and dry, or I may be underwater here in the next few days.
Let's hope you're not underwater. Okay, so share with us, Bob, what you're sipping today. I've had my obligatory Sunday mimosa.
I am drinking some Patty Island whiskey.
Nice.
Very nice.
So the husband, and this is Jim, my husband. You gotta go down so they can see you. Duck your head down.
The camera. There we go. Hey guys.
So Jim likes his bourbon and whiskey too. So he says he's gonna have to go get that.
Even though I tried some Velar rum on ice today, that was pretty good.
Oh.
Well, I've got an 18-year-old Scotch I've been waiting to uncork here, so that may be on the next show.
That may be. All right. So, friends, we will be back in 2 weeks, Bob, or a week?
Probably a couple of weeks. But before we do it, we'll put out an announcement on Facebook Live.
Yep. So you'll put an announcement out in your groups, and I'll put one out in mine, and you all will be able to catch us. And we look forward to having you be a part of this.
That's true.
All right.